All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the What's New webinar for RemoteWinBox. My name is Marc Perea, and I'll be walking through today everything that's new about RemoteWinBox since last month's episode. So to start off with, if you haven't heard of RemoteWinBox, not sure what it is, it's a MikroTik management solution, and there's two aspects of it. One is called RemoteWinBox, one's called Admiral. RemoteWinBox is a cloud-provided management suite, and Admiral is our either dedicated cloud or on-premise option. And there's two versions of RemoteWinBox. They both share the same code base, so it looks and feels exactly the same regardless of whether it's in the cloud or on-premise. And we have a basic and premium service. So with basic, you get remote access, real-time information and visibility, map view, and basically the RemoteWinBox is the big key for the basic service. And then with premium, that includes everything else. So it's got backup management, configuration differentiation. You can see what's different in configs. It's got historical data, user management of Winbox users, Fleet Commander, which allows you to do bulk configuration changes and troubleshooting commands, as well as some other stuff that we'll walk you through as we look at the dashboard. So we talked about, again, RemoteWinBox is our cloud version, and here's a couple of screenshots. We're going to walk through what this looks like pretty soon here with a real-time demo. So as I mentioned, Admiral is our on-premise version that can live either on an appliance that goes in your data center. It can be on a bring your own hypervisor. So if you've got a large VM infrastructure and enough resources, you can host this on your own instances, or we can put the appliance in our data center currently in Atlanta, Georgia. So one of the nice things about Admiral is that an Admiral really makes sense once you're at hundreds of MikroTiks or thousands of MikroTiks. When you're smaller than that, financially, it probably doesn't make sense because obviously it's an annual charge and it's bulk tiered pricing that really makes sense when you've got a lot of routers on there. But once you're into Admiral, it can make sense to get custom software solutions. And so, for example, one of our customers recently did an integration. They have a security scanning software that was pretty expensive for them. And we were able to add some customizations that allowed them to leverage their Admiral, connect their security scanner in the data center to all of their MikroTik routers to allow them to do security scans of the customer networks. So stuff like that, as well as anything else you see here on the screen, can be added. If you're interested in some customizations, contact us at sales@remotewinbox.com. So now let's get into what's new. We've had a lot of progress over this last month. That includes a new user interface for getting to beta features, as well as scheduled Fleet Commander. We'll talk about the use case a little more there, but the primary use case that was requested is, hey, I need to do firmware updates, and I don't want to go to the current latest version of the channel that I'm connected to on that MikroTik. So how about if I could run a download command and then run a reboot command, but I want to do that in the maintenance window. So we've added the ability to schedule maintenance windows on Fleet Commander. And then a whole bunch of other dashboard updates that we'll take a look at here as we switch over to the user interface. So let's go ahead and jump in here, and we'll log in and see what's new here. So on our overview page here, what's new are that we've got alerts here that are showing some sticky stuff. And what sticky means for us is that as there are updates or known issues, any service outages, we can post those here to the alerts, and you'll be able to see not only when your deployment is having something going on with it, routers going online, offline, security events, but also a way for our team to let you know hey, something's going on. And you can see here, we've got right now a bug notice. If your current router is on 731, it's having trouble with Backup Manager and Fleet Commander. Other items that are new here are the user profile has been moved from the left nav menu up here to the right. So you'll find your profile, documentation, support, and sign out links are now up here. Next up, router listing was a big update last month. And so now what we've done for this month is continue to gain the consistency across all the pages so that they all look and feel like this. So backups, firmware, Fleet Commander used to have a different look and feel to them. And now you'll notice that they have the same look and feel as the router listing. So this allows us to have the Omni search, which is really important for when you're at hundreds or thousands of routers, being able to search. And I should talk a little bit about the Omni search here. That allows me to search by tags. I can search by model. I can search by serial number, the system name, the identity that's on the MikroTik, the MAC address, the IP addresses, and any of the notes that you've added to are all searchable items up here in the search bar. So you'll see backups, firmware, Fleet Commander all have this similar look and feel now, like router listing, as well as security. The router security tab here is now also looking like the main router listing. So that's almost complete look and feel consistency between all the pages. So if we head over to the beta features, and if you're not subscribed to beta features, you can head over to your profile, and subscribing to beta features is as easy as committing to giving us feedback on the beta features, and obviously awareness that things may not work as expected. So if I take a look here at beta program, it says I am already subscribed. If I wasn't subscribed, it would just have a button there that says I'd like to subscribe to beta features. And that'll unlock this menu item as well as some of those features. So if I take a look at beta listing, you'll see looks a lot like router listing. So this is a new way for us to kind of draw the feature sets that are going to come into the router listing later on when they're fully tested and field proven. So for now, we moved speed testing over here to the beta test link, as well as this is a new one. This is Wi-Fi. So if I click on Wi-Fi, this is going to show me what the current Wi-Fi SSID and passphrases are and a little bit of info about them. We expect to flesh this out over the next month and allow you to change some more settings here. But for now, you can update the SSID and passphrase right here from the dashboard without having to separately log into WinBox and do that manually. This works for both Capsman and interface wireless. So that one is a beta feature that's getting close to being done. And then the default configuration, this was brand new, fresh last month. We've discovered a couple of, doesn't work 100% of the time. So over the next month, we'll continue to improve this feature so that it is bulletproof and works as long as your router can connect. So what we've seen is that sometimes this has to be run more than once, and sometimes it's just not working. We're putting a lot of effort into this particular part over the next couple weeks. Let's see, what other thing is new is router health. So I'm going to take a look here. If I head over to one of my routers that's online and look at enable VPN health check here, I'll describe this momentarily and say that for some routers that may not have real solid connectivity and maybe experience micro outages for a fraction of a second or a couple of seconds, but they don't actually detect that link has gone down, what'll happen is that our VPN session that exists between your MikroTik router and our VPN concentrator that runs this service will, it'll go stale. It'll still show that it's connected on both sides, but no traffic can traverse that link. So what enable VPN health check will do is add a script and a scheduler to your router, and then once every 5 minutes, it'll try and send traffic over the VPN tunnel. If that traffic fails, it's going to disable the VPN tunnel for 5 seconds and then turn it back on. So it's just a little way that if your connection isn't as solid as you'd like it to be, and our service tends to go stale, then this will help you automatically kick that VPN tunnel off, and it'll reconnect and be good to go. Let's see, other items I think for the week or month include where is this one? Sorting. So when we updated the dashboard here, you can sort by name, you can sort by online, sort by firmware level. So I think firmware was one of the ones that has been requested to come back in, CPU, RAM, and disk. So that's now a sortable functionality that wasn't there last month. Let's see, I think the only other thing that we talked about but I didn't show is the scheduled fleet commander. So if I pick some routers to do a thing on and set up a job here to run, and this is obviously a test command, what I might want to do is schedule this to do a tool fetch and download a file, and maybe that file is the NPK for this router to be able to do a firmware update. So let's go run command, and now it's going to ask me, do I want to run it now or in a maintenance window? I can select to run in a maintenance window, pick my time zone, and when I hit run command, that is now scheduled in the queue. And at that time, when the hour marker passes, that job will start running on those routers. What you can see is that after that command runs, you'll still be able to check the logs, click view logs, and you'll be able to see when that has run, that there will be logs. So it hasn't run yet, there won't be anything to see in that log. I think that covers basically everything that's new in the dashboard. Let's see. I think at this point, I'd like to open up for questions. If anybody would like to see anything in particular, go ahead and either unmute or jump into chat and ask away. Otherwise, I think that's all we had to show for the month.
Mark, and if someone writes into chat or unmutes, we do have a few questions from emails we received past days.
Okay.
So the first question, which you kind of went over, is what is going on with changing the router listings on all the pages recently?
Yeah, so just like we talked about, at the onset of RemoteWinBox, remote access was all there was, and basically there was just a router listing and remote access. And over the last 2 years, we've added everything from the backup management and config changes to Fleet Commander firmware management, the backend for Radius to be able to manage user logins, and each of those things was added kind of ad hoc. So we really did not have a good consistency between all of the different features. So we've our excellent team over here has spent the time and effort to ensure that regardless of whether you've got a couple of routers or a couple thousand routers, this page loads fast, works on all the browsers, and has the full functionality that we need for it to scale. And then also, building that consistency in so that as you go to the different pages, they don't look and feel like a whole different UI, which they used to. And now at this point, things are looking and feeling very connected and similar to each other.
Oh, I believe this is Candace writing in. Seems like you forgot to mention one thing that we did add is the address field to the add router page.
Oh yeah, so that was an inconsistency. So what that means is that over here, when we edit a router, you can see here that there was an address field, and that address field was not available when you would add a new router. And so if we add a new router now, You'll see here that as soon as I put an address in, it will go ahead and pop in the lat and long for that for me automatically. That detection software runs from a third-party API. So if it gets the wrong lat long, sorry about that. You can manually override the lat long here and say, hey, that's actually 3040 -5. And then you can save that. But yeah, address data used to only be available for edit router. So you'd have to add it and then later on come back and edit it. So now that we've streamlined that, and obviously if anybody has any other feature requests that help streamline your workflows, let us know, because that's how all of our software gets built, is from customer feedback.
Cool. I do have a few more questions here, so I'll just keep going. When will the auto provisioning be fully released?
Yeah, so I mentioned that we've seen a little bit of inconsistency on the usability of that particular feature. And so let me back up for a second and talk about what that use case is. So typically when you add a router, every single router is going to have its own unique VPN credential, username, password, API username and password, and all of that stuff is generated at runtime when you're adding that router. So one of the things that's been requested is, hey, I buy 50, 100, a bunch of routers, MikroTiks at a time, and I want to pre-configure them before they go out on the truck to go out in the field. So I need a way to do that without just by adding that to my script instead of adding that one by one for each router. So we've taken that and created what we call a bootstrap service. And so under default configuration here, this will generate a configuration that is unique for your deployment. So you can use this on any of your routers, and then what they will do is they'll connect to the bootstrap service. It'll understand that, hey, that router needs to go into my deployment, and it'll come into your router listing as an unprovisioned router. As far as when is this going to work? So it is working for some of our users, and for other users it's not working. So we're building in some checks and balances to make sure that all of this stuff has been created on the back end, so that things can operate on the front end and fully process all the way through the provisioning. So give us probably a week or two. This is one of our top priorities for debugging. We think we understand what we need to do. If it's not working for you, feel free to email us at support@remotewinbox.com and let us know, hey, I'm not working, and we'll make sure that we're validating that that's working for you.
All right. Well, on to the next one. What is the bug notice with firmware 7.3.1 in the alerts panel? I think you kind of talked a little bit about it, but maybe you can go a little more in depth.
Sure. Yeah. So this bug notice here says firmware 7.3.1 is having trouble with backup manager and fleet commander. So if your routers have been upgraded to version 7 and you're specifically on 7.3.1, MikroTik has introduced an SSH flaw on that particular version. So 7.3.0 and 7.3.2 are both don't have this issue. So if you're on 7.3.1, what you're going to find is that you can't SSH to that router. And because SSH is not enabled, that's what backup manager and fleet commander rely on. So the rest of the dashboard and feature set runs over the API. So everything else will work, but not backup manager and fleet commander. Fortunately, you will be able to upgrade firmware as long as you're doing that with the firmware manager and scheduling an update here, because that will go ahead and over the API upgrade the firmware for you.
All right. I got another one here. And this is more so pulled out as a set of questions related to support. So what is the API services disabled message? Why did it show up in the dashboard if my router doesn't have the API service disabled? And how do I fix it?
I think I understand. So yeah, so these orange routers, is that what we're talking about, you think, Mario?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we kind of give some clues here on the orange icon here. So you can see here on this one, we've detected, hey, there's a permissions problem. Looks like the user for RemoteWinBox has read access only. So obviously, if we're going to run firmware manager, we're going to have full access to be able to update the firmware on that router. There are other messages that'll pop up there in the orange. I think mine might all be, so this one says, IP service API appears to be disabled.
Well, that's exactly the question.
The question.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that can happen is if the latency is really high, I don't know if our timeout values are set high enough. So to work with that, we are over the next couple of weeks launching European and African servers to help get more continental access around the globe that will hopefully be a little better latency wise. And then in addition, one of the pieces that we're working on behind the scenes is what we call the discovery process. So each router once a day and when it first comes online, and if you ever click this rediscover routers button, we'll go and our system will then log in and query the router. So it tries to find out, hey, what's your model number? What's your serial number? Has anything changed on the Wi-Fi? MAC addresses, all of that stuff gets detected during discovery. And so one of the things that we check is whether we can log in. And so what you'll see here is IP service API appears to be disabled. That could be a misnomer. It might be that we just can't, we're not waiting long enough for that connection to occur. And then obviously there's other messages that can show up here if there are access lists on the services, if there are firewall rules that are blocking. And so our default script covers the vast majority, but I think we're going to do a video over the next period of time to show, hey, if these are showing up as orange or red, what are all the possibilities that result in that action? Because that is a pretty common question that we get. And it does kind of depend. We kind of need to look at each one of those individually, but I think it's a good idea for us to outline what the possibilities are in another video so that we can have that to refer to so that you can get a clue on why it may not be showing up as green.
Thank you. I think that answers it really well. And then I have one more question left. What is the shield button on beta listing?
Oh, let's see here. So that one is a coming soon feature. So and I see the tooltip there says coming soon. So one of the things we were working on just this morning before the call, this is a new service that we're calling the VPN service. This will be Admiral only. And what it does is allows for a VPN to be built between your Admiral customers and our data center in Atlanta, Georgia. So one of the use cases here is, let's say you've got LTE customers and those LTE customers are being throttled for video streams, maybe. If you would like to have that traffic not be throttled, we can stick that inside a tunnel. And obviously you could do this yourself also. But if you run it through us, then it's all handled by the dashboard. So we're making an easy button for being able to VPN traffic out from a customer MikroTik to our data center.
Well, I think that answers the last of the questions. So unless we have anything in chat, doesn't look like we got any other questions.
Awesome. Well, I will jump back to here. If anybody's got any last minute stuff, throw it in there. But otherwise, hey, everyone, thank you for taking the time to join us. Again, my name is Mark, and you can reach me, Mark, at RemoteWinBox.com. And if you have any questions or would like to give us feedback, we're always listening. You can check us out on our social media. Also, we post all of these videos to YouTube, and certainly we post updates on Twitter and Facebook. So feel free to join us anytime, and we're always looking for your feedback. Thanks for joining. Thanks for your time.